So next up in our muscle sim adventure is to talk about our restore locomotion and scale container. So the first thing that we're going to do is dive into Houdini into our muscle sim complete file and take a look at the network. Okay, so back inside Houdini, this node here, the sim node, and this container right here on the right are going to be the ones that we'll be completing in the next couple of videos. So over here on the right, this restore asset locomotion scale container. The reason why this is important is this takes our animation from sim space, whether we slow down locomotion, whether we scaled it up or down, etc., takes it from sim space and it converts it back to our original animation space. Now, it is important to be able to debug our simulation, whether we're debugging it at simulation space or debugging it at asset space, especially if we have locomotion, because something's going to be moving faster or slower in both of those views. So we're just going to be, we have a lot of this network created already. The main thing is just to know that on the input here, this is when it's in simulation space. On the output here, this is when it's back in asset animation space, and it has, or possibly asset animation locomotion is 100%. Even though it's moving at 100% speed, it's not simulating at 100% speed if we simulated it at half speed, here, basically, in our pre-roll network right here, where we decide the locomotion right there. So the other thing that we'll be doing in the next couple of videos is we'll be creating the rest of the sim node here. And so if you remember the pre-roll node, we created a little network so that we could basically render the pre-roll node, select it and hit R. And then down here, we could control the step visibility. And we could also take a look at some things, hide them and whatnot. And so we didn't have to select other nodes when we wanted to adjust attributes on the pre-roll node, which was super convenient. So we just want to do the same thing with the sim nodes. So you can see if I render that, we have all of these, well, here, I'm going to scroll down, all of these step visibilities here, and we can turn them on and off. And we can see the variety of details. I know that viewport's really small, so let me make that a little bigger. But we can see a couple of different things. See, there's the muscle, the bones, etc. We can turn off the clip time. So we're basically just going to connect these up the same way we did the pre-roll. So I'm going to dive into the sim network. This network is definitely a little bit more complicated than our pre-roll network. So it'll take just a little bit longer to go through, not too much. The important things that are happening in this network as opposed to our pre-roll network is we're allowing to copy textures. So basically take the textures off the asset and project them onto the tetrahedral mesh. So you can see I've got the tet mesh here, but I've actually got my skin textures on it. So that's one thing that we're going to be doing. The other thing that we're going to be doing is just adding more LODs that we can kind of look through. So like things like the non-sim LOD, and then we'll also be setting up all those visibility switches. Now, remember how we said in the beginning of this video, it's important to be able to review your sim in sim space as well as asset animation space. So the sim node that we'll be creating with all those visibilities and cache steps right there, that will be taking these guys in, the sim space nodes. Later, when we're at in the next couple of videos after we create the sim node, we'll be creating the review node, which will be taking these outputs here. And the review node also takes the output down here, which is our final blend mask composite. But that is essentially over here. You can see the review node right there. And if we dive into that, that looks very similar to the sim node. So we'll probably wait to do the review node at the very end of the series, but just know that there's a difference between viewing your simulation in sim space and then viewing it in the actual animation space right here. So let's go ahead and dive into our student file and go ahead and finish up this restore network as well as the sim node here.